This video is to help you fill out your Part 1 Access Notes, Microsoft Office Access Database Management Application. Please be sure to study your vocabulary for this unit. We are in Unit 4 Databases for the vocabulary packet, and listed here are the vocabulary words for access. Well, what exactly is a database? It's a collection of organized data that allows access, retrieval, and use of data. Our grade books here at school are databases. The telephone book is databases. When you go to Amazon, Amazon is just a big database of products. Of course, it's much more elaborate than what we will deal with. Pretty much every business uses a database of some sort to keep track of information. When you go to the doctor's office and they pull up on the computer your insurance information, your bill, anytime you get a bill in the mail, all of those things come from a database. Databases are one of the most important programs that businesses utilize on a daily basis. There are 4 main objects of a database. The main object is the table. All other objects depend on you having your table created and designed correctly. A database table is a view of information arranged in a grid of rows and columns. The columns are fields and the rows are the records. A form is the view that allows you to see all fields for one record at a time, and you can also enter the records one at a time. A query is a question that you present to the database to find out specific data. Like here at school, Miss Daly pulls or Miss Jackson, one of the ladies in the office, pulls a query to see how many days you've been absent. They pull an absence. They also do a query to see how many students had a failing grade for the grading period, so that then Mr. Ketcherside and Mr. Chambers call you in and counsel with you and talk to you about your grades. So queries are very useful in helping you find specific information. And in Access, they're written in such a way. It's a question that you have, but you don't really write it out in question form, and we're going to learn how to do that. And then last are reports, which take data from the queries and the tables and format them in a nice way so that you can print them out and make them part of a presentation if necessary, or it's easy to read, easy to understand, printable document that, again, includes information from tables and queries. It's already been stated that the table is the most important database object, and it is made up of fields, which are columns, and records, which are rows. A field is a single characteristic of data that appears in a table as a column, such as someone's first name or someone's first period class. It's a single characteristic of data. A field name identifies the field, and it's at the top of the column. A data type indicates the type of data that can be stored in a field, such as, is it a text field, or are we going to have money? So we need to have a currency data type. Is it going to be a date or a phone number or some other data type for our field? Records are the collection of fields that appear as a row in the database or table. So the collection of fields create a record. So all the single pieces of information create a record for a specific person, place, or thing. Such as for you, your record in the school system includes fields such as first name, last name, address, your social security number, your student ID. All of those pieces of information, or all of those fields, make up your record in the school's database. Another very important part of a table is the primary key. And that is a field that is designated as a unique identifier for a record. So if all of the records need to have a separate identifier or a unique identifier, you need to set a primary key. Such as every student in this school has a social security number, and every student has a student ID. Those numbers are different for everybody. So therefore, they can be used as primary keys to help identify. So if there were two Heather Browns in the school, first and last names are not good primary keys because many people can have the same first name and many people can have the same second name. So, or last name. Many people can have the same phone number, actually. If there are multiple siblings in the school, then they may all have the same contact phone number or address. Those are not good primary keys. Good primary keys are things like account numbers, social security numbers, ID numbers that are uniquely generated for each person, each record in the database. Once you've entered records into your table, you can sort them to arrange them in a particular order. To sort is just arranging a list of words in either ascending or descending order. When you sort in ascending order, you sort them from smallest to largest, or from A to Z, or from earliest to latest. Descending order is the opposite. It's when we sort text or numbers from Z to A, largest to smallest, or latest to earliest. To help make starting access easier, you can pin it to your taskbar for later use. When you launch Access, the Backstage view automatically displays. That is when the File tab displays the Backstage view where you can save and create your database. Here is a look at the Backstage view. When you're starting a new blank database, you need to select Blank Database. And then over in the right-hand side, you need to click the yellow folder and browse for the location in which to save the database. And then you also need to name your database correctly. Each time that you are asked to create a new database, that means you need to open Access in Backstage View and go through those steps that were just mentioned. You need to create a new file for each new database. To create a new file, again, you launch Access, the Backstage view opens, you click that folder icon, or you choose blank database, then click the folder icon, choose a location, name the folder, and then click Create. You need to go through those steps every time you start a new file, a new project. Each new project creates a new blank database. Now, there will be some databases where we add tables and add forms and add queries to an existing one. But when you start a new database, you need to start a new file. Once you've named and created your database, and you open it up and you're ready to begin, the navigation pane appears over to the left-hand side that shows you all of your various database objects. In the beginning, it's only going to have one table in there. But as you add extra tables, forms, queries, and reports, those will appear in the navigation pane. The shutter bar open and close button either collapses or expands the navigation pane, where it either hides it or opens it back up for you to be able to view your objects. When you open a database object, a tab appears to show the open object. It appears in the active window. And if you open more than one, a a tab for each open object appears. And then to switch between the open objects, all you have to do is click on the tabs in the active window. Each database object can be viewed in several ways. For tables, the main view is datasheet view or design view. The datasheet view is a grid of rows and columns, and that is where you go to enter your records. You can also create fields and do some basic field formatting there. To do more advanced field formatting, go into design view, and you can define your fields. That's where you can set your input masks and set formatting for dates and change other properties such as field size. To change between views, there is the view button on either the home tab or the fields tab of the ribbon. When you open a table, two new tabs appear on the ribbon. It's the fields tab and the table tabs. And these are the contextual tools tabs or table tools tabs of the ribbon. On the fields tab, you can change the view, add or delete fields, change data types. And on the table tab, you can change properties and other advanced commands. When planning a database, you must first consider the purpose of the database and the information that you need to collect and store. The table is the main database object. All other objects depend on that table. So your database table structure, making sure you're gathering all of the information you need to gather, is very important to your database design. To make it simple for those using the database, each table should be about one particular topic. For instance, in the database that we're creating as a practice file, one of our tables is going to be all about cookie recipes. Another table will be all about the contact information for the people to whom we from whom we purchase our supplies. And then a third table will be a recipe for our entrees, our main dishes. And then a fourth table could be collecting customer information so we could mail out flyers and things to customers of our business. So again, each database table should be clearly designed to capture or gather the information that you're going to need to operate your business, or that the people using the database are going to need in order to do their jobs well. And each database table should be about one particular topic. Just as I was saying before, a database can have multiple tables, but each one needs to be dedicated to one main topic or purpose. And you see the example here of some 4 tables that you could possibly have in a database. Of course, it's all going to depend on the purpose of your database, what information you choose to collect in your tables. To design tables, I find it easiest to work in Design View. In Design View, you can create all of your fields, assign your data types, and you're just looking at your fields. And at the bottom of the screen, you can go down and set your properties, your formatting for the types of information that you want in the data, set your field sizes, set your input mask, and all of that in your field properties area. And just to repeat, to change to design view or to datasheet view and back and forth, you use the view button on either the home tab or the fields tab. Every time you create a field, you have to assign a data type. The data type is the kind of information that can be entered, such as text, number, currency, zip code, memo. You can even set up a yes or no field where you can check boxes, but you have to select a data type for every field that you create. And just to repeat again, in the field properties section of the design view, is where you can go to set limits on the number of characters for a field. You can put the input mask on for a phone number or a zip code. You can do other advanced features in that field properties section. Here is an important note to remember. Once you change the auto number field to a different data type and key in any information, it cannot be changed back to auto number. You would have to you'd have to recreate the field and kind of start over with that field. So be very careful. If you want to allow your field to automatically number, you set the data type to auto number. And if at any time you change it from auto number, it cannot be changed back once you have put any information at all in that field. Setting your data types at the very beginning are extremely important. You run the risk of losing data or corrupting data if you change data types once you've already entered information into your records. So be aware that if you change a data type, you may lose information from your records once they've been entered if you then go back and redefine your data type for your field. So be very careful. Take a moment to read over in your notes this graphic about the different data types. You will be tested over some of these, such as the fact that the text data type holds 255 characters, and the memo data type holds about 64,000 characters. Again, take a little bit of time, pause the video, and read over this information. When you create a database table, you have the option of setting a primary key. A primary key needs to be set in order to allow records to be uniquely identified. Appropriate primary keys are things like phone numbers. That's not a real great one. I think we talked about that earlier. Like in our database at the school, more than one student may have the same phone number. So phone numbers, it depends on the design of your database. Better ones will be account numbers, student IDs, driver's license numbers or text that are uniquely identified and only for that one person. Unacceptable fields for primary keys are things like names, addresses, zip codes, because these aren't unique enough to be used for a primary key. Many people can have the same name, the same zip code, the same address even. In our table, our cookie table, we had the primary key set as the cookie name because in our database, we didn't want to allow for our database to have more than one chocolate chip cookie recipe. Now, we might have variations of chocolate chip cookie recipes, like we might have a chocolate chip pecan or a chocolate chip oatmeal, but we are going to set our recipes up so that our cookie name is the primary key so that we don't have redundant recipes for our chocolate chip cookies. When all fields are filled in for one item in the database table, that is a record. A record is all of the fields for one particular person, place, thing, or item in our database. I just mentioned redundant data. Redundant data is duplicate information that wastes space and increases the likelihood of errors in your database. So when you think of it this way, redundant data causes us to have to spend more money on storage. And when you think about storage, if you go to the store and buy a 1 gig flash drive, you're going to pay a lot less than if you buy a 30 gig or 32 gig or 128 gig. The more you purchase, the more storage, the more money you spend. And think of that in terms of businesses where they are spending thousands of dollars just for storing and managing their information.